Hello, in this video, I'll take you through DesignVAT's payroll template. Now before starting, first of all, I'm going to list the 5 key features supported by the template. Firstly, the template enables you to store your employee information. So it has an employee database that enables you to store employee personal information and work-related information. Secondly, the template enables you to track leave balances, leave applications, and leave allowance payments. In addition to that, it has a salary review section where you can document employee salary review as at when they occur. It allows you to track salary advances taken by employees and also loans to be paid on a monthly basis. And most importantly, it enables you to generate a monthly payroll. Now, this payroll factors in personal income tax, that's the PAYE, pay as you earn. And it also tells you your taxable income, non-taxable income, and other statutory deductions. So now I'm going to begin. So on the screen, I've opened up the template, and as you can see, it's powered by Microsoft Excel. So that means you need to have Microsoft Excel installed on your computer. We advise a version from 2013. And once you open up the template, you arrive at the dashboard, and this holds 3 thumbnails to navigate to the 3 major sections of the template. We have the employee section, where you add new employees, the leave section, where you enter your leave summary, applications when taken, and lastly, we have the payroll section where you can generate your monthly payroll for your permanent and your contract staff. Now in this video, I'm going to go through all the sections, starting with the employee section. To open up a particular section, you simply click. So once you click on the thumbnail, it takes you to that section of the template. So now we're in the employee information section. Now all sections in this template have a similar formatting. In the upper left-hand corner, we have the section title. And this tells the user at any point in time the section you're currently on. So notice it says employee information, so the user knows this is where you document all employee data. To the right of this, we have 4 buttons: to add a new employee, to delete an existing employee, to generate a monthly birthday report listing all employees with their birthday in the current month, and to generate a custom report where you can indicate the attributes that you would like to see. Above this, we have a navigation pane, and this holds several buttons to navigate to other sections of the template. Each label, for instance, dashboard, represents a button, and once you click on it, it takes you to that section of the template. Recall this is where we initially started, we then clicked on employee. So each label represents a button to navigate to a particular section of the template. Below the 4 buttons, we have our data table, and this is where all employees will be listed. At the top, we have our column headers, and these are the attributes you're expected to supply per employee. Now, to add a new employee, you simply click on the Add Employee button at the top, and this pops up an Excel form. Now, Excel forms provide a simpler way to store data to this table here. So you notice that the column headers that I referenced are equally listed on the form as labels. The user simply has to supply values to the white portion of the form. So the first attribute you're expected to supply is the employee name. Once you're done supplying the name, to move to the next field, you can either click with your mouse, so notice my cursor is here, or you can make use of the tab key on your keyboard. So the tab key moves you from your current field to the next field for data entry. The gender field is a drop-down, so you can select either male or female, or you can also type, for instance, F, it will autofill female. In the same way, the marital status is a drop-down list. You can click and select from the 4 options, or you can start typing, for instance, M, and it will autofill married. The form has 2 date fields, the birth date and the hire date. Now, by default, for all date fields, the template will automatically enter today's date. However, you can modify the date portion, the month portion, or the year portion. Now, the date format depends on the settings on your computer. So mine is day, month, year. That's why it's in this format. So kindly check your format before using the template so that you would know if yours is day, month, year, or month, day, year. So the format on your computer is the format you should use to enter all date values. So let's assume that this employee, Rose Random, was born on the 3rd day, the month of April, 1985. Next, we indicate the state of origin, the email address, phone number, contact address, next of kin, phone number, and address. So now I've successfully supplied all values in the personal data field. I then move on to the bottom section of the form, which is the work data information. First, indicating the hire dates. Let's assume the employee was employed on the 1st day in the month of January 2018. Next, I indicate the employee type. Now, the template supports two types of employees. We have the permanent staff and the contract staff. Now, the major difference between the two is with regards to personal income tax. So permanent staff, the template will automatically calculate their payee. So to automatically calculate the taxable deductions. And for contract staff, it doesn't do that. So for contract staff, your gross pay and your net pay are the same. For permanent staff, the template will automatically break it down into your basic, housing, and so on, so various allowances, and then would automatically calculate your taxable and non-taxable income. So I'm going to assume this is a permanent staff. Next, I'm going to indicate the job title and then the leave type. Now, the template enables you to track leave balances, that's leave applications per employee. Now, to do this, the template creates certain categories. So there are 3 categories by default. Later on in the video, I'm going to show you how you can modify the categories. But by default, we have the officer, the manager, and the director level. Now, for each category, you can indicate the number of leave days that you're entitled to on a yearly basis. So by default, I think the template gives 10, 15, I can't remember the exact number. I'm going to show you later on in the video, but you can always modify it. So depending on your company leave policy, you can create more categories, you can modify the existing categories, and you can equally indicate the number of days that each category should be eligible to on an annual basis. So I'm going to click on the officer level. Next, the bank account details, account number, the monthly gross salary, and lastly, at the bottom, we indicate the non-taxable deduction. So the template supports these 3 categories: the pension, the housing scheme, and the NHIS, that's the health insurance. So you simply indicate at the bottom, is this employee eligible to pension? If you indicate yes, when generating the monthly report, the template will automatically deduct 8% of their monthly emolument. So 8% of their salary would be deducted for pension. That's if you indicate yes. The same for NHF. If you indicate yes, the template will automatically deduct 2.5% of their basic. So not of the gross, of the basic. Later on in the video, I'm going to show you how you can indicate the percentage for your basic, for your housing, and for other allowances. So this will automatically deduct 2.5% of your basic, and this will automatically deduct 8% of your gross salary. Lastly, for the NHIS, this is optional. So if the employee contributes to this scheme, kindly enter the monthly amount. So for instance, 1,000. So on a monthly basis, it will automatically deduct 1,000 as part of the non-taxable deductions from the gross salary. If there's no NHIS contribution, you can just leave this blank. So it's optional. Now, once you're done supplying all the values, you click the enter button to store this employee to your database. So once I click enter, it tells me employee added. Once I click OK, I should see the employee listed on the first row. So you notice that the first row is automatically populated with the values that I supplied. We have the employee name, the type, and all the other values. Now, as I scroll to the right, you notice the other columns. And on the extreme right, we have some formula generated columns. So let me quickly scroll. Now you notice we have some columns here that will be automatically calculated by the template. The first is the leave balance. So the template will automatically calculate the total number of leave days that Rose Random has left. Next, the template will automatically calculate the current salary. Now, the current salary is different from the salary we entered. The salary you enter here is the starting salary. So that means that as at the first day of January 2018, this employee started with 150,000. But it's possible that in subsequent years, the salary is going to be reviewed. So there's the salary review section where you can document the salary reviews, and the template will automatically at any point in time in this column here show you the current salary. That's the most recent review and the most recent review dates. Next, these are the other values we supplied. That's the NHF, the pension, and the NHIS monthly deduction. So that covers how you add employees. To add a new employee, you simply repeat the process. You click the add new button, you supply all the values. Now, one column you notice here that's blank is the end date field. So whenever the employee leaves your employment, so maybe the employee resigned, their contract is terminated, or for whatsoever reason, here you simply indicate the end date. Now, this is useful when generating your monthly payroll because once the end date is passed, the template will no longer be added to the employee payroll. So to automatically remove the employee from your payroll list. So clicking the add new button, I'm going to quickly add another employee. Now, not all the fields are mandatory. So it's possible that as at the time you're entering this information, you might not have some information. For instance, the next of kin and all of that. So those are optional fields. You can always update it in the future. The only mandatory field, so notice if I click the enter key, let's assume I don't enter anything. So I just click on enter. You notice that there are going to be some red alerts. So there's some fields that are highlighted. So these are the mandatory fields that you need to supply for Excel to be able to store this employee. So the other fields are optional. You can always update it in the future. So I'm just going to enter only the mandatory fields. The employee type is also a permanent staff. The employee was hired the first day of April, but last year, 2007. This is a manager. The person's salary is 300,000. The person is eligible to pension and NHIS and contributes 5,000 to the health insurance scheme on a monthly basis. So once I'm done, I click on enter and it's going to store that to my database. So now you notice we have two employees. The first row represents the data for the first employee. The second row represents the data for the second employee. Now you notice that hire date is the 1st of April 2017. And if I scroll to the right now, you notice that this employee will be eligible to leave days because the employee has stayed over a year. Now the number is dependent on what you set. So later on in the video, I'm going to show you how you can modify that. But by default, we've already entered some numbers for demonstration purposes. That's how the template will automatically tell you this is the leave balance. And this is the total leave days accumulated since employment. So this number will continue to increase. The eligible number multiplied by the number of years, and this number will reduce as the employee applies for leaves. So that's a summary of the first functionality, adding new employees. Now to delete an existing employee, it's very simple. You simply click on the employee you want to delete. For instance, John Phillips, you notice the border around the cell. You click delete. The template is going to ask, are you sure you want to delete this employee? If you do, you simply click on yes. If you don't, you click on no. So that's how you add new employees and delete existing employees. Next, birthdays. Now this will automatically generate a report listing all employees with birthdays in a particular month. Now once you click on this button, it takes us to that section of the template. So you notice it has a similar formatting. In the upper left-hand corner, we have the title that tells you this is the birthday report. To the right of this, we have our navigation pane, and below we have the actual report. So here at the top, you can select the month you want to see. So if I want to see all individuals with birthdays in December, it's going to show me only the employee that has a birthday in December, which is John Phillips, and it's on the 2nd, which is a Tuesday. Now, those are the only 2 months we have, December and April, because those are the only 2 months that we've supplied in our employee section. If I quickly add a new employee now, so now I've supplied all the values for this new employee. This is the name, it's a male, this is the phone number. The person's birthday is in the month of December, 1984, and then I've supplied the other attributes at the bottom. Once I'm done, I simply click on enter and it's going to store that employee. So now we have 3 employees. So if I go to my report and I want to see employees that have birthdays in the month of December, I should see 2 employees. We have John Phillips, which is the 2nd of December, and Adam Trump, which is on the 2nd. So I simply go to birthdays. And at the top, I indicate December. Notice the 2 employees there in December. If I change this from December to April, it's going to list only employees that have birthdays in the month of April. So this is useful in case you do some form of celebrations for employees on a monthly basis based on their birthdays. Now going back to the employee section, the last button here is our custom report. Now this is a very useful report. Now what this report does is it enables you generate any kind of reports you want based on employee information. So on the left, we have employee name. So this is going to list all employees in your database. And you have the option of selecting 5 additional attributes. So if I want to see all employees with their phone numbers, under the first arrow, I simply select phone number. So I scroll and I look for phone. And once I click refresh, it's going to list all employees in my database with only their phone numbers. So this report enables you filter data in this section, because notice on this section, we have multiple columns. And sometimes you just want to file a particular information and you don't need everything listed together. So to do that, you make use of the custom report. If I want to see phone numbers and email, under the second arrow, I simply indicate email. So I scroll down until I see email. And once I do, I click email, click on the refresh button in the right-hand corner, and it's going to list all employees with their phone numbers and email address. So I didn't enter email for these other 2. That's why it's blank. If I change this from email to, for instance, their starting salaries, There we go. Once I click refresh, it's going to list all employees with their phone numbers and their starting salaries. So it's a very useful report, and you can select up to 5 attributes. I'm going to select the type, I'm going to select the hire dates, and I'm going to select the job title. Once I click refresh, it will automatically generate a list in this format: the phone, the starting, type, hire dates, and job title. So that's how dynamic this report is. It enables you to indicate the attributes you want to see. You simply click on the drop-down list, scroll through, and indicates the attributes that you want to see. Now, if you accidentally select the same attribute twice, for instance, employee name, at the top it's going to tell you remove duplicates. So that way you don't accidentally put 2 identical columns. Notice type, it tells me at the top there's a duplicate. If I put job title again, it's equally going to tell me that there's a duplicate. So that way you don't accidentally select the same column twice. If I click refresh, it will automatically remove the phone numbers and replace with the leave type. So that's the third report in the employee section. So that pretty much covers all the functionalities here. To add a new employee, you click add new, fill all the values, and then click enter. This tells you the compulsory fields. And at any point in time, so for instance, if I now know the job title, I can simply double click, and here I can put the title, for instance, HR officer. So you can always update the values in future. So let's go to the right. You notice I didn't put the bank account details, but at any point in time, I can always double click on the cell and enter the bank and the respective account number. So in the future, you can always update values that you're not yet sure of. To delete, you simply click on the employee, for instance, John, click on delete. It's going to ask for a confirmation. If you want to delete, you click yes. If you don't, you click no. This generates the birthdays, this generates the custom report. So now we've covered the first section. We move along to the second section where we enter leave applications so the template can track leave balances. To do that, you simply click on the label leaves, and it takes us to that section of the template. So now we're in the leave information section. This is where you document all approved leaves. In the upper left-hand corner, you notice the title, leave information. To the right of this, we have 3 buttons: the add approved leave button, to delete an existing leave, and to view your leave balance report, which will list all employees with their respective leave balance as at today. Above this, we have navigation pane. Below this, we have our data table where all leave requests will be listed. Now, to add a new leave application, you simply click the Add Leave button. Now, kindly enter only leaves that have been approved, because the moment they're entered into this section, it will automatically reduce the employee's leave balance. So if an application is still pending, you don't yet have to document it until when it's approved and official. To do that, you simply click on the Add Leave button. It pops up a form, and then you go ahead and supply the values: the approval date, the employee's name. Now, the moment you select the employee's name, the template will automatically tell you the total number of days they have available. So I'm just going to backdate this to the 1st of April. So let's assume that on the 1st of April, one of our employees, John Phillips, is applying or has their leave approved. So once you click on the employee, it will automatically tell you that John Phillips has 14 days available. So they can apply for a maximum of 14 days. If I change this to Rose, it tells me Rose has 0 days. And Adams has 20 days. So you notice that the employee field is a drop-down list. This will list all employees in your database. The moment you select an employee, it will automatically return their current leave balance. So I'm going to enter the application for John Phillips, who has 14 days. Let's assume the leave is starting on the 7th. That's 7 days after the approval date. That's the 7th of April, 2018. And he's applying for 3 days. Next, you indicate the leave allowance. Now, if there's an additional allowance for this leave, the template supports 3 types. First, if there's going to be no additional payments, you simply click on Other, and the template will automatically enter 0 as the allowance amount. So this means that there is no additional payments for this 3 days that John Phillips is going to be out of work. If you indicate full salary, this is for companies whereby your leave policy indicates that the employee is eligible to full salary for any leave application. So once you click full salary, the template will automatically return John Phillips' gross emolument, which is $300,000. Notice if I change this from John Phillips to, for instance, Adam Trump, if I select full salary, to tell me 170. Because Adam Trump's salary is 170. So it's automatically return that for you. So this just makes things faster, so you don't have to start looking through files. So I'm going to change this back to John Phillips. I can start typing J, it will autofill. And I'm going to enter full, that's 300,000. Now, the next option is paid leave days. So if you're going to pay John Phillips a daily allowance for each day that you're going to be off. So 3 days, so that means your daily pay times 3 simply indicates paid leave days. The template automatically calculates their daily pay and then multiply it by 3. That's 30,000. Recall the gross salary is 300,000. We have 30 days in the month of April, meaning that every day that's 10,000. 10 multiplied by 3, that's how the template arrives at 30,000. Now, this is not fixed, so if your company policy is different and is not covered by option 1, 2, or 3, you can always manually enter the amount. So here I can go ahead and enter 10,000. I can enter 70,000. You can pretty much enter any amount that you're going to pay the employee for this leave. And if you're not paying anything, just simply indicate other, and it's going to enter 0. Lastly, you indicate the reason for the leave. So this can be, so let's assume that John Phillips is applying for maternity leave. So we are an awesome company, so we give maternity leaves of 3 days. So there we go. So once you're done supplying all the values, you simply click on enter and it's going to store that to your database. Now, the last thing I want to point out here is if, for instance, for some companies, depending on your leave policy, after a certain period of time, the leave days cannot be rolled over. So it's possible that maybe after every year, if you don't use it, it gets knocked off and starts counting again. So if your leave doesn't roll over, you can equally use this section to enter that leave knockout. So all you need to do is just to indicate the days. The allowance is going to be 0, but under reason for leave, what you're just going to indicate here would be, leave cancellation or, leave days not used. Okay, so you can also use this to prevent rollover counting. So once you're done, you simply click on enter and it's going to store that to your database. So we have the first row listed, the date, the employee's name, the start date, number of days, and the allowance we entered is 0. So there's going to be no additional payment. And maternity leave is the reason for the leave. So now for John Phillips, the balance should have reduced by 3 days. So recall it was 14 before. So if I click on add leave and I select John Phillips, we should now see 11 days. So it has automatically recognized the 3 days. In the same way, if I go to the employee section and I scroll to the extreme right on the second row, you notice that the 2 columns now make sense. The total leave days accumulated, this will continuously increase. It will tell you the total number of days that the employee has accumulated since engagements. So if according to your leave policy, the employee is eligible to 10 days every year, and if the employee has stayed for 3 years, so this is going to be 30. So this will continually increase. However, the leave balance will show you the eligible days. So this is going to be this subtracted by the number of days they've taken. So notice that's why we have 11 here and we have 14 here. So John Phillips has gained a total of 14 leave days, but has used 3, so has a balance of 11. So I hope that better explains the difference between the 2 columns. Okay, and this is dynamic. It will automatically decrease as the employee applies for additional days. Now I'm just going to quickly add another one. This is going to be paid this time around. It's going to be in the month of July, and this is going to be for Adam Trump. I'm just going to make this the month of December. For Adam Trump, 20 days is available. He's going for 10. Is going to be eligible to his full salary, and this might just be, annual leave. And I can just indicate the year, 2018. So here you can just type anything to make you easily remember the reason why the leave was approved. So there we go. So now we have 2 rows. The first row is the first leave application by John Phillips. The second is the leave application by Adam Trump. So that means that Adam Trump's balance should have reduced from 20 minus 10 to give us a balance of 10. So if we go back to the employee section, if we scroll to the right, we should now see that the total days accumulated is 20, but the balance is 10 because the employee has used up 10. Okay, so that's how the 2 columns work, and all sections are interconnected. So going back to the leave section, we've covered adding a new leave, approved leave application. To delete any leave, you simply click on the employee name or the date, any cell in that row. So a row is made up of multiple cells. We have the date cell, the employee name cell, start date cell, and so on and so forth. So if you want to delete any row, you simply need to click on any cell in that row. So I can click on the employee name. Notice the border around. So what I'm telling Excel is that this row is the active row. So if I click delete, it's going to ask, am I sure I want to delete Adam Trump? Because I'm currently on this row. If I click on yes, it's going to delete that application. If I click on no, nothing is going to happen. Now the last button is to generate a leave balance report. Now this is useful if maybe at the end of every year you print out a report to file it to show the total number of leave balances that every employee has. To do that, you simply click on leave balance. It will automatically open up the report. And at the top, it will tell you the total number of employees you have. So if you have 50 employees, 50 employees are going to be listed. And at the bottom, it's going to list them with their most recent leave application and the balance that they have. So at a glance, you know, this is the last day that this person went on leave. This is the last day that this person went on leave. And this is what they currently have in their balance. Now, the template can support a maximum of 1,000 employees. So if you have more than 1,000 employees, kindly let us know so we can extend the number at an added cost. But by default, it supports up to 1,000 employees. And it will automatically list them all with their most recent leave days and their balance. Now you notice rows random is not here because rows random is not applied for leave. So it will list only employees that have applied for leave. So you notice that's why rows random is not here. So that covers the leave section, adding a new leave application, deleting an existing application, and generating your leave balance report. So we've covered the employee section, the leave section. We move along to the loan section or the salary advance section. Now to go there, you simply click on the label and it takes us to that section of the template. Now this is where you document all loan information. So you notice loan information. To the right, we have two buttons: to add a new loan, to delete an existing loan. Now by loan, we mean this can work as salary advance. So if you offer your employee salary advance, you make use of this section. Or for some companies, you offer loans to your employees to pay on a monthly basis, just as a form of, you know, maybe welfare scheme to help them out. So you have a system whereby they can apply for a certain amount and then you're going to deduct it on a monthly basis from your salary. So if you offer that, you document it in this section. And the template will automatically deduct the payments when generating the payroll. Now to do that, you simply click on Add Loan and it pops up a form. It works exactly the same as the two forms that we've seen. At the top, you indicate the loan date. Next, you indicate the employee that's applying for the loan start date, the number of months, the amounts that the employee is borrowing, and the amounts they plan to pay on a monthly basis. Now, I'm just going to do a practical demonstration. So let's assume that I'm just going to make this July. I'm going to make use of John Phillips is applying for a loan, and the loan start date is very important because this is when it's going to be deducted. The first month it will be deducted from the payroll. So let me, as I said, do a practical example. So let's assume that the loan start date is also in the month of July. This loan, number of months, so how many months is the employee going to pay back? Let's say 3 months. The loan amount, let's say 30,000, monthly 10,000. So this means that this employee, John Phillips, is borrowing 30,000. This 30,000 is going to be taken from the employee salary in the month of July, the start date, August, and September, because it's for 3 months. So July, August, September, and then a monthly amount of 10,000. So that's the info. So every information here is very critical because that's what the template will use when generating the monthly report. If I change this to 40,000 and I change this to 4, what that means is that for the next 4 consecutive months, as July, August, September, October, the template will automatically deduct 10,000 from John Phillips' salary when generating the payroll. So if I click enter, it's going to store that. And that's it on the first row. So from the 1st of July up until October, so it's going to tell you the end date. It will automatically calculate the end dates. So any month in between July, August, September, and October, the template is going to automatically deduct 10,000 from the employee salary. And we'll notice that when I generate a report, you're going to see the practical demonstration of that. To add another loan, you click Add New. You indicate the month, the employee's name. So let's assume this is a salary advance. So she's requesting for a salary advance. So it's only 1 month because she just requests this salary advance before the payday and 10,000. So the monthly amount will be the same as the loan amount for salary advance. So basically, Rose Random is just taking 10,000 naira from her salary on the 10th rather than waiting until salary is paid on the 31st. So once you're done, you click on enter. It's going to store that information. So now 2 loan requests. The first is going to be paid off over a period of 4 months. The second is going to be paid off this month. So that pretty much covers the loan section. We're going to notice this when we're generating the payroll report. So we move on to the addition section and the deduction section. So to open up a section, you simply click and it takes us to that section of the template.